Hey, what's up, guys? Hey, good to be back with you here again. I wanted to talk a little bit here about some of these so-called limited edition products that you will see from time to time when you're looking at buying old baseball simulation games. We're going to look at here in particular is Pursue the Pennant, right? You may or may not know about this game. Pursue the Pennant was originally released in 1985 with a big box that includes cards for the 1984 season, and it was released as a limited edition. And I saw somebody on Facebook just the other day who talked about how they bought it and they were really excited for it, and so on and so forth. So let's go take a quick look here and see. Now, I don't have a copy of this version of Pursue the Pennant at the moment, but I used to have one. I can tell you that you have to be careful here, all right? So this Pursue the Pennant game, we're looking here first, of course, at sold listings on eBay, because you always want to start with the sold listings, not with the current listings. Sold listings will give you an idea of what the actual value of the product is. My recommendation when we look through these sold listings, we're going to ignore everything that's 86, 1990, and so on, because some of those sets are more rare than you think. What we care about is the big box, and it looks like as we go down here, we're seeing a lot of these smaller boxes, second edition, and so on. The value of that is actually, I think, a little bit higher. That's the game that had the outboard or the outfield cutouts and like the grass or the artificial turf thing at the bottom that you would flip and you'd like actually set up the stadium to play in it. First edition didn't have any of that stuff. So when we go take a look at it, let's just look here at this eBay auction that is complete. And my apologies if this is your auction. I mean, whatever. We'll look at the original listing just here mostly to make a point. So every single version of these original Pursue the Pennant games came hand-signed by the creator, Mike. I forget his last name. Starts with a C. Anyway, Mike's a real good guy. You see him on the message boards all the time. And he still is very, very active with Dynasty League Baseball, which I recommend giving a try if you haven't before. Mike Cieslinski, there you go. So it's hand-signed by him, and it comes with a whole bunch of stuff, including the game board, the player cards, and a certificate of authenticity. We'll see if it looks like this auction is not going to be nice to me and load up the pictures, so we'll have to load up a different one here. And we'll look at this first one right up here at top. You can see that there are all of these like really variable prices, right? You know, so the version that I owned, I paid probably like $50 for, right? You can pay more if you want, but you do have to ask yourself, what are you actually getting? And especially for a product like this, you got to ask yourself, okay, is it really worth it? So here's the one that was $50. This does contain all of the boards. I can tell you that because I have played with it before. Pursue the Pennant, if you haven't played it, is a game that is very much in the Strat-O-Matic theme. Instead of using three 6-sided dice, they use three 10-sided dice, and so it's sort of a decimal type game. And it's like numbers like probably 0 through 500 or whatever is on like the batter's card, and then 501 and up is the pitcher's card, or the other way around. I can't remember. It's been a couple of years since I've played it. It comes looking just like this. Most of the versions, including the one that I had, have rubber bands around them, which is not good for the cards. But that, again, is in the Strat-O-Matic tradition. And this is the certificate I was talking about. Now, this is where you kind of have to be careful. And it's not because we're worried about there being bootleg products or whatever out there. There are no bootleg copies of at least the first edition of Pursue the Pennant. And the reason why is because, as it says here, only 5,000 such games will ever be produced. That's the reason why. They made 5,000 of these, right? You might be looking at that and you might think, oh, wow, only 5,000. That's like nothing. Especially if you're thinking in terms of like 1980s, like normal baseball card runs and stuff like that. We're talking about a simulation game here, right? 5,000 copies of this is a ton. That's like, I mean, a boatload, right? 5,000 is a very, very high number for this game. That is the reason why these come up on eBay all the time, and that's the reason why the value of them is usually going to be sub $100, even though it's a 40-year-old product, because 5,000 is a lot, and there's not the demand out there for 5,000 of these games. When you look through everything else, let's see, do we have any photos of the cards here? Yeah, we do. The weird thing about this particular set, I can see here, okay, I was wrong. It was 0 through 500 is the hitter. I guess I was right. You can see the rubber band staining and stuff like that. The kind of weird thing about this is the part where it gives you like Ron Hassey was acquired from Cleveland along with George Frazier, blah, 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 blah. That's supposed to be where you're supposed to have the ability to affix a normal baseball card to the top of the card so you can see the player while you roll the dice for the outcomes on the bottom. If you look closely at the outcomes on the bottom, you can see again that this is very much designed in that sort of Strat-O-Matic design, Strat-O-Matic feel, which is kind of how the game is. Honestly, it's kind of how Dynasty League Baseball is as well. You can kind of see where the inspiration came from and how things were changed to make its own new game. But yeah, be aware that especially if you have a copy that looks kind of grody like this, you can get better looking copies than this. There was actually no need back then to put rubber bands around them because the box itself had dividers for each of the teams, as you can see here very clearly. So I don't know what the original owner of this was thinking. And that's the reason why I sold for $50. You can find one here for $150, and it is exactly the same. The one difference here is that when you look at the cards, looks like 2 of the packs are unopened, and then the other ones are open and sort of strewn about, kind of ugly there. And that's it. That's the difference, right? That's what you're paying an extra $100 for, right? So when you're looking on eBay now and you're looking at these sets, like keep this in mind, right? Like, I mean, you can look at, and I'm probably going to get in trouble with somebody for doing this, but you look and you can see a whole bunch of these sets that are open here. I think these two are the same. They come from the United Kingdom. For whatever reason, I'll list it twice, right? But you'll see this, and they'll be asking so and so much money for this, $125 for this set. There's nothing really. Oh, there is something special about this, right? So you can see this one is, I think this is the one that is actually unopened. So nothing here has been opened at all, and all the original materials and everything is there. I mean, you can do this if you want, if you think that this is a good deal. I'm going to give you a hint, though. At least as far as I see things in the collector's market, the value of this set will never increase. There's never going to be more demand for the 1984 season of Pursue the Pennant, ever. It doesn't matter what happens. The demand is already there. Yeah, they only have 5,000 copies of these games, but we're not going to live in a world where, like, all of a sudden people are going to be like, oh, I really wish I had that 1985 Pursue the Pennant game in that big box that's like the size of a VCR, you know. I wish that I had that one sticking around. Oh, look, this is another one where it's unopened, right? And this time they want $260. So ask yourself which unopened one you want, right? Because this is the same product. There is no difference. The one difference here is that the serial number, which was written on apparently not even with a Sharpie or with whatever, was rubbed off, right? I mean, I don't know. You know, you have to ask yourself, how important is that really? I'm going to tell you that having like an unopened copy of this and, you know, all of that stuff is probably not going to suit you that well in the future. Does this one even have cards is my question. I'm not really seeing here. Oh, yeah, here we go. We have cards, and nobody knows if they're complete or not. I know from my copy of Pursue the Pennant, the original game, that it was probably likely that the cards were not complete, that some cards for some teams were missing. So anyway, when you look at this stuff, keep all of this in mind. Pursue the Pennant especially is a difficult game to collect because the history behind the game is a little bit murky, right? Especially when you get to the early 90s. There were some problems with the way the cards were calculated, especially around 1993. And I think 1992 may have also had some issues as well. And then the 1994 season is where things go totally haywire because of the strike. You got to be really, really careful with this stuff when you're doing this. At any rate, we know a lot about the 1985 version, so the 84 season of Pursue the Pennant, and what I can tell you is that if you are going to purchase this for collector's purposes, like, be very, very, very careful, because the chances of it ever appreciating in value is like slim to none. I really don't see it happening. If you want to buy it to play it, absolutely go ahead. And it's not a bad game, though, to be honest with you, the revised version that came out the next year with the 85 season is much better. The changes are better. The cards are smaller. It's able to fit on a table instead of the old game, which really doesn't fit very well on any sort of tabletop. And if you want like the updated version, you really should go for Dynasty League Baseball and really try Dynasty League Baseball online, which completely eliminates the need for any of the table stuff anyway. So anyway, it's just my thoughts on the subject, and apologies to you if you made one of these purchasers or are one of the sellers of these games. Just, I mean, I bought a copy and then sold it again probably about 8-9 years later, and I didn't make any money off of it at all. I just don't see this going up in value whatsoever. So there you have it. Have a good day. Bye.